Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Market Check brought to you by BB. There is no second best daily YouTube live stream to talk about markets. Welcome, guys. If there's one thing that can be said about the last 24 hours of price action, it is that we have a lot of volatility in the streets. First, we had blood in the streets. Now we've got green in the streets. Welcome to Market Check, guys. We're gonna break it down for you, of course, as well as where we expect price action to be headed here over the next few days, the next few weeks, maybe even the next few hours. But I'm Tommy. You guys also know me as Snorlax. I'm joined by Max and potentially a few of my other teammates as well throughout this show. But yeah, we hope you guys have had, if nothing else, an entertaining start to this week, right? We're seeing quite as I said, a lot of volatility within this price action. Before we can dive into it a little bit deeper, discuss the move that we had obviously in Asia, but of course the move that we're having right now this morning that pretty much ate up all of the Asia session price action. I'm going to ask you guys to smash that like button. Let's get some volatility going on the like button, guys. I definitely think that is something that you guys are capable of. Show us your support. We would be very, very appreciative. And now you can't use the excuse anymore that it's a red day, so you can't hit the like button. I believe Bitcoin, if it hasn't flipped green, it is very, very close to doing so right now. But yeah, I'm probably going to use that word a lot today. Volatility very much seems to be the name of the game when we look across the board, not just for Bitcoin, but also for a lot of these altcoins, right? I mean, the price action that we're kind of seeing on these daily candles is very reflective of that total perp trader death. But of course, that's not to say that there's not opportunity still in this market. As I've been saying for the last few days, despite the fact that we've had majors and everything that's kind of been correlated with decentralized exchanges, maybe a little bit more correlated to TradFi algorithms, there has been opportunity in certain on-chain pockets, certain sectors of AI still, despite some of the previous leaders of the sector beginning to slow down. But yeah, it's kind of funny to me that we bid in New York for Bitcoin on a day where, of course, the burgers are out, right? The Americans,
Tommy, that's why, because the bankers are gone. The bankers are out. That's why.
It's definitely not a coincidence. It's definitely not a coincidence. I mean, we've kind of just been having Asia buy and New York selling into the Asia buys, and now it's kind of flipped. This time we had Asia sell, and we probably had some, I'm sure we had some bankers from from the New York stock market trading some Bitcoin today that said, thank you for your liquidity. If nothing else, we're going to squeeze you out of your bottom shorts. But yeah, Bitcoin's at crucial levels, ETH's at crucial levels. We're going to give you guys some thoughts on where we think price is headed next. And anything else that we see, of course, in the altcoin market. So if you guys have anything in particular you'd like us to take a look at on today's show, just drop it in the comment section. We will do our best to cover that, in addition to what has already been a pretty wild last 24 hours of price action. But Max, how are you feeling after the last 24 hours? It's been a bit of a roller coaster, but obviously, we are at some pretty important levels for assets across the board.
Yeah. Thanks, Tommy. Great intro. I'm doing all right, man. I was traveling, so I was really just tired yesterday. Long travel day before that. Then of course price goes down. Then my kid woke up early, so I was like, man, I just don't have the energy to deal with any of the whining today. That you are right. Like, we are at a big level kind of across the board. I'm really not too worried about it. Like, this was a pretty nasty shakeout that we had. Oh my goodness. Look who it is. Look who joined us. The
Who's back?
Horse.
Look who's back.
Look
Back
who's
again.
back.
Jack is back.
Unbothered.
Friend.
I first wanted to join in with the horse because it's a representative of the current lower time frame market conditions. But I was also, the BB members that are just joining the market check now, because we had an extended call there. They know that I am very much unbothered, and so they are. when it comes to higher time frame.
He's unbothered. Look at him. He's got the leaves around his head. He's in a hot tub in his lane, moisturized, flourish, thriving, long, unliquidated.
Liquidated.
Unliquidated.
If you've been in the market as long as I have and experienced, stuff like COVID and so forth, it is what it is. So you play the levels for what they are, and you let the apes to enjoy the 5 minutes on lower time frames, even the hourly, and then you can be unbothered.
Yeah. Well, I mean, looking at the charts, like I really don't think things look too bad. Like I understand it's tough. I was talking to our Discord about this kind of, I mean, at length this morning, and here I'm actually gonna redraw it here, and it's kind of a silly little example, right? But I do think that it's important and it holds some weight. All right, so this was the 2024 Open right here, and I'll make this bigger so you can see it. So this was the opening tick of 2024, and I'll make it red. Okay, the opening tick of 2025 is right here. Yeah. Well, I'm actually not even showing this to show the fractal. I mean, I think it can work, right? But the point in me showing this is all of the price action that we had right here in 2024. And then I guess we'll mark out the stuff below it, right? So I think what a lot of people are doing right now is they're looking at this little move, which is all of the price action that we've had for this entire year. Oops, I need to change this to 25. And they're looking at this right here and they're going, oh man, we had 3 bad days of price, 2 days of price action. It's over. And the thing is, more or less the same thing happened here. And by the way, this isn't going to be the last shakeout that we've had. We're going to, maybe we go down or maybe we go up. We're going to go up and then we're going to have another big shakeout. Who sold? Oh, it's over. And we're going to go up again. And then it's going to come back down. And it's like, look at everything that you went through in 2024. You went through the, oh, we're going to be rich immediately and it's over. And then you actually were rich, right? And then it was over again. And then you were rich. And then it was over again. And then you were rich. And then it was really over again. But if you bought here, then you were rich, right? So I think this is a silly example, okay? But there's also a lot of weight behind it where look at how far we are into the year right here. 2025 is going to go all the way until right here. We have this much time left for 2025. We have that much time right here. So what's going to happen during all this time? Is the low in? Is the low not in? Who knows where we're going to go, right? But you have this entire box right here to bet on where ETH is going to go, where Bitcoin's going to go, where crypto is going to go. So to look at this little tiny move, right, and be like, yep, it's over. The year is cooked. That was the exit pump. You're going to die. I think is just silly, right? Like you have so much time left in this year. It's January 9th, it's January 9th. So I understand the feelings. I didn't enjoy that dump either. I just want to move up. We all do. But it's really important not to conflate, a few days of price action with a complete unwind of high time frame bias. I think that's silly, right? I think it's silly. So I don't know. Maybe it's a silly example, but I look at this and it's kind of shocking to me that people are like this worked up over. I mean, it's 9 days into the new year, it's 9 days. So
Max, I believe the copy pasta is absolute mayhem. Market turned to full-blown scam in minutes. That was the final exit pump. We all fell for it. Take profits while we can. Rebuy. Rebuy lower.
That is it. It's true. I don't know. I mean, it did turn to a full-blown scam, but it's just like, how are you going to swing trade and like hold positions and like not be okay with, a little bit of volatility like this? It's not fun, but it's okay. Like I think we're going to go a lot higher this year ultimately, and it might even just start as soon as Trump's in office. Like it could change really quickly. I always say this, but like just as quick as it's so over, it can turn to we are so back, and that's crypto.
I think there's been a lot of opportunity, if nothing else. If you are a lower time frame enjoyer, for starters, yesterday, I mean, we kind of saw some price action and flow that we've seen over the course of the last year. And I kind of talked about this on X. If you go on the Bitcoin 15-minute, you can see the way it sells off and respects an algorithm. You just throw an EMA on there, RSI with it. It's a very respected sell-off. At least that's kind of how it was over the last few days, right? You get into that 50 level, the underside of that 50 level on the RSI. You continue the downtrend. Eventually, people get used to that. They fake it out above the 50 level on the RSI, and then they sold it off again before eventually squeezing people over and over and over again. So really, like this seller has been in the market for quite some time. We've seen him. We've seen him before, right? So we kind of know how he can behave. So I think that provided some lower time frame trading opportunities, right? Anytime Bitcoin is going 3 or 4K swings in both directions on a single daily candle, there is, opportunity to be had. So I think if nothing else, if you like derivatives, if you like to trade lower time frame, there are some of these setups that you can notice and play.
Yeah, this is disgusting, Tommy. Is this what you're talking about here? Like they fake squeeze it over the 50 and then right back down?
Yeah.
What do you make
I
of this?
remember the fake squeeze above the 50 because he's probably stopped me out on some scalp shorts like twice in the last year. With the expectation you cross that 50 level, the algorithm, the trend is broken. The seller is going to stop sitting on the ask as aggressively. And then, nope, it's a trap. We make another low. And then you get the real squeeze. So that's kind of exactly what happened.
I think my comments are not working.
I think mine aren't either.
Yeah, I'm like, there's no comments here.
Just blame StreamYard. We can pull up YouTube, or I can.
Yeah, I can't see the comments. All right, let's see. Yeah, very annoying. I can't see the comments. Maybe I need to you stay here, let me refresh, see if it starts working. And then
I will probably fix it.
Yeah, let me try and then you could leave. So hang on one
No,
second.
no, wait. They are working. It's just that there are some questions from a guy on Twitter, and the new ones are loading up higher up. So like there are like 6 comments from one guy from Twitter, and the rest is above for us.
I see that too.
Yeah.
Oh.
And the times don't line up either, by the way, of those posts. But I do not think it's on the. I think it's working for users watching on YouTube,
Yeah.
I think. But it's not for us here on StreamYard.
I see. Okay. All right. Let me see. All right. Yeah, sorry. Just trying to read these comments. I got really behind on the chat. I want to make sure I don't miss anything here. Some funny comments. But yeah, Tommy, what do you make of this this 15-minute destroyer that's going on right now? Do you think we're almost done with them or no?
Well, let's see what happens, I think, over the course of this daily candle, right? Because it's a pretty quick move that we just had up. So I lean that it was probably a pretty aggressive short squeeze. Doesn't mean that it won't be the bottom. It might be the bottom. I just kind of want to, I would wait before positioning further if you don't already have anything on the table at this point. because it can probably go either way from an intraday standpoint. I'm going to zoom out though a bit. I think that Bitcoin is at a very critical level, right? 90K rather is effectively your value area low of the range that we've been trading in for the last, I think, 6 weeks. So it does have a certain level of significance that I think you want to see Bitcoin hold.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, what I will say this, like what I don't know. I was kind of the opinion we wouldn't really see too much today. It doesn't mean we have to like nuke or anything like that. I wasn't of the opinion we would see too much because it is, I mean, technically US markets are closed, right? I guess maybe it could be a good thing, right? The bankers are off the buttons, but you know, we're just kind of hanging out at like range low. It's very, very boring. It's very, very choppy, you know, but I view this as just like, all right, we're sitting on top of high time frame demand. Looks all right. We've got this little range right here, which is, you know, trying to hold. Or, you know, you could probably even draw like a bigger range. So you kind of have like a range within a range. Could maybe actually kind of do it like this. So big range, but we could kind of break it up into two different ranges, like a range within a range. So we're just kind of sitting at like this really important level right here. And I don't know if we're going to look back on this and it's going to be one of those like, wow, they gave you so many chances to bid like 90K and everybody wanted, you know, mid 80s and they just never gave it to them kind of things. You know, it's so often that we'll see that where everyone kind of gets like, they get teased on a level, you know, and it just never quite happens. But I don't know if I have like strong feelings about this. Like we're sitting at technically support, which I mean you're at support. You expect support to hold, right? That's what support is. So we are at support. You should expect support to hold. But I think if we did drop down, you know, I don't really think it would be like a floor, like a trap door thing. I feel like it would be like we're down here and we're just kind of like sitting here, you know, and then we would move lower. But I don't know. We're at support, like should hold, I would think.
It's a big level. How many weeks have we been in this range? Like, I guess probably 5.
Yeah. I mean, do we want to count it from here?
Yeah, probably.
Almost
Oh,
2
wow.
months.
Actually, 2 months.
Yeah. You know what I was looking at yesterday? I was looking at, I was kind of playing around with this. And we're getting a little squeezy on the Bollinger Bands here. I like the 3-day. So if you look at like when we've started to squeeze like this, you know, there's been a few examples of it, you know, recently. So we could go back to, you know, down here, we had a big squeeze. There was another squeeze like right here. There was another one, you know, right here, dropped on that one. This was another one right here. This was another one right here. And we're starting to get a little squeezy here, you know.
Oh, man.
Once in a while I'll pull this up. Like I love the 3-day, you know, at least let me just higher time frame Bollinger Bands just to figure out like when you're stuck in these big ranges, kind of like it's good at kind of picking out like when does it come into a climax, right? Like when is volatility incoming, right? And this is interesting, right? It's interesting. It actually there might be like a Bollinger Band width.
Volatility incoming tends to fit my bias, as I've discussed with equities. Volatility is going higher, whether price is or not.
I mean, we're getting, yeah, here's all the times we've been this squeezed. Let's see here. Yeah, look at this. So these are all the times we've been this squeezed. Volatility incoming.
Mhm. So you're saying we need to touch the lower boundary first?
I
Tricky
don't
question.
know. I mean, maybe, right? Maybe. It's more just like this is when, this is when we've been this squeezed. And this one we kind of just like bled. We didn't really do anything. This one we nuked.
Can you
This one we pumped.
can you check the prior cycle?
Sure.
Yeah, I can see the front run at 10K.
Yeah.
And then 8K too.
Yeah, I don't think you
The
need to touch the bottom.
right
But
after the bottom.
yeah, I mean, we could be doing something like that.
Yeah, like
Right.
in both of those instances, the price gotten very squeezed and then didn't touch the lower boundary.
Yeah. Yeah. It just feels like big move is brewing. Something I've done with this too. This gets like a little bit, normie, but I think it does work to some degree. Is this guy's been pretty good. Is you
I'm
can kind of
MACD illiterate. Can you
you're
explain it
MACD
to me?
illiterate.
Yeah, can you explain it to me like I'm 12, both for the audience and of course for myself. Like I said, I'm not very good with MACD.
It is a momentum oscillator in the simplest of terms when you get a cross, like this. It's like two moving averages crossing bearish. But on top of that, you want to acknowledge this zero line. When you are above the zero line, you're bullish. When you are below the zero line, you're bearish. So even if you get, a bullish cross like this, for example, Tommy, you get a bullish cross here. That's right here. You get, a bullish cross right here. You're so far below the zero line, your momentum is just cooked. So typically, like the bearish crosses when you're above the zero line are not that bearish, and the bullish ones above the zero line are really bullish. So prime example, bearish cross above the zero line, the red line here, wasn't so bad. Bullish cross, really, really bullish, right? So it's just a good momentum oscillator at the end of the day. But I'd say like one thing that I've used to kind of help determine which way like a Bollinger Band squeeze is going to break is by looking at the MACD on the same time frame. It's not perfect, right? But I would say there's some signal in it for sure. And I don't know. I mean, this looks, I would say marginally more set up to be bullish than bearish, but we'll have to wait and see.
It's a confluence tool, if anything.
Yeah.
But as always, it comes to the context of what the price and where, like what the price is doing and where it is. I wouldn't necessarily like. There is lots of PA guys, and I'm PA guy myself, who will like just say like an indicator is stupid, and I wouldn't say so. Like I myself found lots of signal in RSI. And it has helped me in the past many times. And I think moving averages, which MACD pretty much is to some degree too, are good too. But obviously, it's not a holy grail. Nothing is, and you need to use them in confluence with basically lots of other stuff.
For sure.
That
I think the best thing we could see right here, you just brought up RSI, would be like to see this, kind of 50 region hold, just like it did over here. So if we're going to get like a little squeeze and a MACD cross, that would be ideal. Something like this.
yeah.
I do think there are some structural similarities with this current range to that ETF range that you have marked out. I don't know if the context is quite the same, but I do see a lot of resemblances in price.
For sure. Yeah, how long were we in that ETF range for? Let me see. So like from when we marked up to when we kind of like started pumping again, 104 days. So from when we marked up, 104 days would really take us a while. It depends where you want to start the measurement from, And this was a little different. We I'd say we had like vertical accumulation into like, another pop up, but yeah, I mean, I could definitely see it. Not all at once, boys. Stop fighting over each other.
I'm just looking at the Bollinger Bands. Volatility incoming. I feel like the 25-year-old technical analyzer.
Yeah, I've used this combo in the past, man. Like when you get stuck in these ranges, it's pretty solid for like when it's gonna start breaking. Like you kind of, I find it best on the 3-day, and it's interesting. I don't know. We'll have to see, right? It's in a way like you don't know which way it's gonna break necessarily, but I guess I would just say, given the context of like where the market's at, I'd be inclined to think up. Like we were just in this giant range. MACD on the same time frame just went from like below the 0 to above, and you're just kind of getting this range compression. And I know these are kind of like the normie indicators, but they're really good. Like it's really good confluence with like other types of TA that we do, right? There's definitely some signal in it. At least I find it's worked for me, but I don't know.
Do we have any thoughts on obviously what the headline that came out yesterday that the U.S. government has permission to sell those Silk Road coins? I did, I want to add some context. It's not new information, right? Apparently, this was kind of adjudicated on, I think, on the 31st of December, but it seems like we're just now hearing about it 10 days after the fact. Some people speculating those coins have already been sold, et cetera, et cetera. Do we think that it's going to have any impact on price? I know the notional amount of that Bitcoin right now is around $6.5 billion. If they haven't.
As far as I remember, the Trump team said that they will not sell any government Bitcoin anymore. So the only chance of doing that is really in the next 10 days or something. Like basically until Trump is in the office. Because after that, they shouldn't be selling that anymore. If anything, they said that they want to build a strategic Bitcoin reserve, and I think Trump at this point is forced to be doing this because we know how powerful the BTC community can be, and they would never let him be if he didn't do it. Not to mention that it's not as much about people, but Larry Fink is now position in BTC, and he will kind of make him do it, if I can say that way. So again, it would really have to happen in the next 10 days.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I'm viewing it as well. I mean, that's kind of how I view risk in the current market. Like there's this window where, I mean, we're not getting a rate cut in January. The dollar's elevated. Bonds are not having the best time, admittedly. And then when Trump gets inaugurated, as we've been discussing, some of these fundamental narratives are going to flip in the other direction. But I think survival until the inauguration is rather pertinent at this point, right? You have 12 days until Trump gets elected. By all intents and purposes, it's going to be a very bullish administration for crypto. But we can't really rule out anything from this current admin, can we? Quite literally going scorched earth on their way out of office. But I don't want to get too deep into that commentary.
I hope that they don't do something too crazy, Tommy. You're right to say that we can't rule anything out. I have seen House of Cards. And remember how he left office? Yeah. I'm not saying
actually I don't. I think I
started
stopped watching like right before the end of the last Frank Underwood season. So I don't know how he left office.
Dude, such a good show.
Yeah.
Such a good show. But yeah, he started a war, man. He was like walking into like what do you call, like the war room? We'll just call it. I don't know. And he basically just like looked at the camera in his eerie way and was just like, well, like it's over, but we can leave them with some inheritance, basically.
Well,
Very
I think if the current government of yours wanted to do something crazy, it would be over at East Europe.
Yeah, probably. Let's just assume that they're not going to do anything too crazy, right? Let's just assume that they have a conscience and they care for people. And
Okay, we fucked.
let's just assume that they're great people, okay? And it's all good. And they're not going to do anything to hurt us at, just to mess with the new guy. Let's just assume, right? Is Trump's inauguration innately bullish, or is it just kind of like, yeah, we already know it doesn't matter?
By the way, what happened to Kevin Spacey? I think he was in lots of trials, and I think he actually
Yeah.
won them.
He's cooked, brother. He's cooked.
He may or may not have done something inappropriate with a young boy, so I don't know. It's a shame.
But I think he won those trials.
Did he? I don't
think so.
follow
don't
any of
know
that
if he
stuff.
did.
I just saw the headline. I think even if you win the trial, you're cooked, because it's just like, whether you did it or you didn't, you were accused of it, and there's a big question mark around it forever. So I think he's cooked regardless.
I don't think it was a criminal charge, but he lost a civil lawsuit. So he's going to be guilty in the court of public opinion, like Max was saying.
Yeah, the public opinion is bad.
But in regards to the inauguration, the reason we pinpoint that date, I'm gonna repeat something that I've said already a few times over the last few weeks. It's contextually significant because you've had all of these narratives as Trump is coming into office. And I'll note the moves that began, or rather the moves that we're seeing on the dollar, the moves that we're seeing on bonds, the moves that we're seeing in yields, they started before these narratives kind of, began to back them, such as the nature of price moving before narratives. But narratives have that added reflexivity to continue the trend, to continue the narrative, which right now is that Trump's administration is going to be a lot more fiscally conservative, the potential to raise rates, to cut back on inflation, obviously make, trying to impact American, or rather the way that inflation's hitting Americans substantially. You have tariffs that are going to be, it makes sense that they're strong on the dollar, but I think as Trump is elected, reality sets in, which is that this is a populist presidency with a full mandate from the people, and he's going to have an agenda that he wants to enact. That typically leads to lots of fiscal stimulus, which is actually contrary to the view that most people have about this administration and the buildup to it. So that's why I pinpoint the inauguration. The first 100 days really should be very liquidity positive, because the president is going to have an agenda that he's looking to enact. So that's kind of my view on the inauguration, and why I do lean it will be a positive for markets. It will probably top the dollar. It might not be like the Pico top of yields, but it should be kind of like the top of the narrative, more or less, give or take a few weeks. And yeah, I mean, I just kind of continue to pinpoint the date of the inauguration for that reason.
Indeed. But it's kind of sad at the same time too, that the whole future of every crypto market participant depends on this.
It's kind of the antithesis of what we set out to do with crypto, but that's kind of our bed now, so we have to lay in it.
Yeah, we all got into crypto to get away from all of it, but here we are. Let's look at DXY.
The most cringe thing is when people who were pouring into crypto, into BTC at first because of like, hey, let's decentralize the money and take away the money from the state, and all of them are now like, not all of them, but lots of them are now like, oh, Larry Fink, please pump my bags and buy all the Bitcoin. So that's kind of like,
Even too, Jackus, you have like first cycle Bitcoin maxis that are just micro strategy maxis. They're leverage fiends. And I don't think if you're a micro strategy maxi, you're definitely not a Bitcoin maxi. Respectfully.
Yeah, there is like, especially in Czech, there is lots of people who are good Bitcoin maxis, I would say, like in that regard. Like they will publicly speak. They're like public speakers, and they will not like what Sailor is doing, and for that I respect them. But lots of quote unquote Bitcoin maxis around the world will be like, Sailor, please buy my bags. Such a good guy.
Now, I have a fun discussion for you guys. I saw something on this. I hadn't even actually thought about it before now, but it was like BlackRock forking or deciding to fork Bitcoin. I hadn't seen anything about that until I saw some like random troll post about it. I don't think there's any validity to it. It's more of a hypothetical question. Do you think that would be a positive for Bitcoin, and what would that look like? It's just a nice little hypothetical case study we can go over, and we can talk about the dollar.
Sorry, once again, tell me, what was the question?
It was it was just a post I saw on X about, what if BlackRock forked Bitcoin? Maybe because of some centralization issues with Sailor, maybe because of quantum computing fears, even though I don't think that has any basis in reality. I hadn't even thought about the possibility, though, of like somebody like BlackRock forking Bitcoin. I remember that becoming a conversation at some point last year, but I don't think we've ever talked about it.
Listen, quantum computing, like I keep getting people, even in real life, ask me about this all the time, and I just say like, hey, if it were to happen, Bitcoin is the last thing you should worry about, because like every banking system in the world would be dead at that point. So you would like want to hold gold physical coins and have food stored up in your basement, because that would not be good. I think if it were to come, I think to some degree governments and central bankers and all of that would step in, and they would take some precautions and make it gradual, basically. I think, listen, BTC is the most decentralized sorry, yeah, that's true too, but the most secure network in the world. So if you are worried about BTC, you really need to be worried about everything else. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. The scares of that will come here and there. It's kind of like that, what I've noticed in society is that we like to make like all these fears that nobody really understands, right? Like all these invisible enemies. Like, yeah, but what if quantum computing and everything breaks down? It's like, oh my god. And what if like we all burn here on the earth? And it's like, oh my god. And what if like, because I do not know if you guys know this, but like 30 years ago, every mainstream media was saying that everything's going to freeze. And then before that, all I heard was, hey, oil is, like oil is, every supply or all the supply of oil is going to go away in like 10 years. And then in 10 years, they said it again, and they said it again. And again, it was ice age before, and now it's that, and what if like the bees are all going to go away? We are also going to die. And
I remember that the bees are dying. I don't know if that's still true, but I don't want to make fun of it if it's not.
Yeah, so lots of these fears are always floating around, and they will always use it, scare people, make it not, buy the asset, or make it buy something instead, like vaccine or something. But in reality, the systems in the universe simply adapt and evolve. And even if there are some deaths, some panic in between, if you look at all systems, they essentially adapt and evolve and move on at time. So I'm not like worried of that in in much. And as I said, if it were to happen, your worries are completely elsewhere. But that's in different topic. When it comes to your original question, with like forking BTC.
Because I want to say before you finish, I saw some people asking about why they would do that. I think it's like a centralization issue, which, obviously is not really in line with the ethos of Bitcoin. But I have seen that discussion before. Like I said, it is just a hypothetical question. I don't think that this is anything imminent, but I did see the question on X, and I felt like it was worth mentioning.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I think, when it comes to forking BTC, I don't think that's happening either. I think well, actually, it was Sailor who said that, like, the powerful when he initially bought it in 2020. I remember when he was like in the first days, right? That's when he was like the real Chat stepping in, and he was learning still everything. And he said, like, hey, listen, BTC is this one asset that already went through all those forks. It had the early days issues, and it went through all of it and survived, which gives me that enough confidence that it's going to be here for the next 100 years. And I say this many times, right? Like, if some asset undergoes crucial time and manages to go over it, like Tether, right? For example, lots of people will still use TetherFAT, but it managing to survive. And I do not have any evidence, but I'm pretty sure there was some shady stuff at the beginning. Well, what I know of is that they definitely weren't 100% backed. I think at some point they even admitted that they were like 60-70% backed in 2018. And then they issued their new coin, which was the issued Leo something coin,
Right, Leo.
the Leo, and they basically made up for all the missing liquidity, and then they instead chose to go for the U.S. governments instead of like having partials, right? And I think they might have been doing that in the beginning, but whatever is it, right? They managed to overcome that issue. I think it was a great stress test from them. But nowadays, obviously the stress thought will come every once in a while, just like China banning Bitcoin and all of these, but nobody will really care, or like some people will care, but like the majority will not care, of course, when I say everyone. So that I think Tether is safe, and I think BTC, when it comes to forks, is safe too, because if a new fork were to come, we all know what happened to the copycats that launch after. Bitcoin Cash is still somehow around, but Bitcoin Gold is just totally dead today. So yeah, I do not think I can even find Bitcoin Gold anymore. What is the ticker? I think it's BTG.
Bitcoin Gold.
You
That sounds like an ICO altcoin.
You do not remember Bitcoin Gold?
No, that was, I think, before my time.
That was in 2017. There were the hash wars, 18, and there were the forks, and then there were the hash wars, and BTC managed to survive them all. So there was first Bitcoin, right, and then they allowed Bitcoin Cash, and I think it was Bitcoin Cash even trading for like a few days above our Bitcoin, but then it began to. It was a few days after the launch, I think, and then because when like BTC fork to Bitcoin Cash, right? Because there were real issues back then when people were debating the block size and all of that, and so they did this fork of BTC Cash, and the market decided the winner. That's how it's supposed to be, right? So when you have two coins of the same, which is totally fine, the market decides. It's a free market. The free market decided, hey, we do not want any more copycats. So they launched Bitcoin Cash that traded lower in price. It did not follow Bitcoin, and then they launched Bitcoin Gold, which was a third Bitcoin basically, but nobody believed in that in any regard. So like BTC Cash did somehow decent, but not like BTC, and then they let Bitcoin go. Bitcoin. And then it just died. Yeah, so I wouldn't be worried too much about forks, because if new Bitcoin fork were to come in, it would just, be worthless pretty much.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting how that would be perceived, given how we have kind of shifted into this very much TradFi, but is it really TradFi controlled? I mean, I know during New York session, we tend to get sold off on, but I still tend to lean that Binance and Bitfinex run this market. So I guess we'll just see if it happens, but I just wanted to speculate some dubious speculation for a second. Max, I'd love to, sorry to interrupt your cook session on the dollar.
Oh no, he rugged.
Oh, right. As he was, at least he was smiling. Oh no, you're back. You're back. You're back.
I rugged a little bit there, but okay. Sorry. So yeah, sorry to interrupt your cook session on the dollar. I wasn't.
This is actually
tangent like that.
This is total.
Oh yeah, and then there is BSV. I nearly forgot about that.
Okay, my bad.
Bitcoin Satoshi Vision trading at $53 right now. That's the first one. That's true. Oh, that's true. That's true. Wait, where's the comment? I just lost it.
Emu Wi-Fi. I don't even know what that is, but I just know it's a nasty insult.
BTC Cash made a serious run. BTC, I still remember that night. Yeah, it did. And I think you are right that it never flipped it, maybe, but it made a serious run where it was like at least half of the value or something. So like BTC at the time could have been like 10K and BTC Cash was trading at 5K or something.
Yeah, flippings happen all the time, man. Like prices, they fluctuate so much, man. I mean, I remember my first big experience with like a flippening was when Polly's like Pepe fork. This is so funny. We're talking about like Bitcoin forks, but Pepe got forked. It was really more of just like a different shit coin, but Polly forked it and Pork flipped Pepe for like an hour, and then Pepe went vertical after that. So I don't know. It's not really about what flips what. It's about what has staying power, right? It's like what happens when it flips it, right? Because a lot of people will use an asset flipping, market cap as, a buy or sell signal, right? It's used as sort of one of those like, bookmarks in time. So, it just doesn't really mean too much. It's like what happens over a long period of time with it.
Indeed. And then when it comes to the time frames, like everyone is okay with like days of that happening, but if like some asset is trading for, let's say even a month, I think is when people start to get stressful. So like if you have an asset that has been outperforming since its launch, but then has like 2 years of bad period, people suddenly change that paradigm and forget the overall picture. And they miss the forest.
See a lot of people missing the forest after the past 3 days, man. You'd think that literally we just had COVID because of the past 3 days, man. It was, I don't know if I can remember. I feel like the sentiment right now is literally worse than August 5th. Truly.
I would say the sentiment was, that's kind of weird, but sentiment was worse in September compared to COVID, which was the second dump. And I feel this is the same. It's like September.
Yeah. So like you're talking about this, Jack, it's right here. Like sentiment was worse right here than it was right here.
Well, I wouldn't say that. COVID was pretty bad, but
Thank God I was
yeah.
not around for that.
You probably
It's-
would have hit the short, Tommy.
I'd like to think that I would have hit the short. Luna was pretty traumatic. I mean, it was so crazy to look back on because it's like one of those days where even when you expect downside, the carnage is so much more intense than you could have possibly imagined, and you're just like, holy hell, I just wish this would stop going down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I hate to feel like I just interrupted the conversation, but
No, I did not. You
You were-
just bring new thoughts in.
what were you gonna ask me, Tommy? You cut out or something?
I think you were looking at the dollar before Jackus and I went on that tangent about forking Bitcoin. I think Chimp Phone wants to come on Market Check. I don't know. He's only hinted at it a few times in the comments.
Might be a good day for that.
Lots of people do not know, but Ether Classic was actually the first one. So like Ethereum is a fork of Ethereum Classic. And that's actually a case in which fork did better than the original one.
Yeah.
What was the reason that they forked it again?
I don't remember.
Wasn't it because Ethereum got like hacked or something? Not quite hacked. I know that's not the exact verbiage, but something along those lines.
Looks kind of pumpy, low key.
I truly don't remember what was the reason, but it's like it was the original Ethereum, then new Ethereum launch, and this one was called Classic, similar to what happened to Luna, except nobody baited on 51% attack. Okay.
The DAO hack. Gotcha. Interesting. Lore before I was in the space.
Interesting, right? To always dive on the lore.
I just want to see how it performs against ETH. Like, is there any merit in holding ETC? Nah, no merit, nothing. I'm sure it will pump though, but I mean, it's not. It's underperformed the previous two cycles, so
It's like usually the merit is when ETH pumps and has like outperformed a lot. You rotate to Ethereum Classic, and then there's a little time window of like ETC pump.
yeah. Let me look at this.
So
This
it's
is
like when
ETC ETH.
when ETC pumps. So
I mean, here's the real chart. I had it in log mode, so
I still remember how epic the pump on Ethereum Classic was on Coinbase. I want to say it was like 50 or $60 higher than any other exchange. It might have been even higher than that at one point. There was this huge premium on Coinbase because it takes a week or something like that to send something on Ethereum Classic or for transactions to confirm. I remember finding that out the hard way or withdrawals. I thought I bought ETH, or I did buy Ethereum Classic, and I didn't even know that when you send it, there's this huge waiting period before you can even get your coin. So I think I ended up losing money on it somehow. But just funny to remember that, thinking I had lost my money, but no, it's just that transactions take forever to confirm on that network.
Speaking of transactions taking forever, Bitcoin is such bad tech for that, bro. Like I'm firmly in the camp that like slow transactions that cost a lot are actually bullish. Like why real estate keeps going up forever. Like it's expensive to transact. It's very illiquid. Like buying strong, like solid assets at least. I mean, in crypto, that's hard to define, right? But buying solid assets that are illiquid and scarce over a long period of time is a very bullish thing, right? That's why I feel like, and here's the thing, I'm not even bearish on like the opposite. I just think it comes with a lot more like
Market
a lot more
volatility.
considerations, right? Like I think, and this is a bit anecdotal, I don't have like percentages or, any data to back it up. It's just kind of anecdotal from my observations. A lot more like Sol and base memes, like it's much quicker to launch, and well, I mean, you can launch. It's quick to launch, and it's very easy to just like buy and sell and like twop, and it doesn't cost anything, right? So I find that a lot of these newer chains that are a lot faster with cheaper fees sometimes have more of like they have more of a jeet problem, man, where it just like things just get jeeted into the ground, and it's that happens with every chain. But I'm not necessarily opposed to like, I think that's a really bullish feature for like Bitcoin ordinals. Like if we can get some Bitcoin froth and like a true alt season, I really do think you're going to see something like, puppets just go crazy, man. No, I don't like, dude, the thought of even selling a puppet right now would just drive me crazy. Like it would take an hour to confirm. And then you're going to go through a grieving process where you think your money's gone for a second. It's like, where's my money? I need it now. So I don't know. Bullish
on fine art on Bitcoin.
Yes, bullish.
It might take some time though. It's admittedly, we're very early to actual on-chain transactions on Bitcoin. Make no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I think the fact that it's such a pain in the ass to use is unironically bullish. Like, sure, in the short term, the tech is not great, but it just shows that there is a lot of room for fundamental improvement, which means, in my opinion, a lot of room for narrative reflexivity to the upside. So we'll see what happens, but I tend to think you'll see a resurgence on puppets. Obviously, not just when Bitcoin is trading a good bit higher, but also when you see some improvements to actually using the network.
Yeah, for sure.
Booty Bandit, there was also a thing with BTC like that when they ran the clocks back. So like there were two chains actually at a certain point in the early days. So like each chain, even BTC wasn't like all good just from the launch. They had it was actually a Czech guy, but they were running one side of the chain, and then there was some update. I do not remember the specifics. I wasn't active at the time, so only from what I heard. But like there was one chain, and then there was another, and then they had to go back to the update sort of type of thing or something, and then continue together.
Chimp, you already dumped your ordinals on me, bro. You've already done enough. Chimp shilled me puppets, and then he dumped on me. Crazy. I'm actually up on it, so it's fine.
I remember I bought his puppet one time at the floor. I think I nuked it at the floor.
No, Chimp, I am up. I think I bought it at like 0.05 or 0.06. I don't know when you chilled it to me, but then it pumped and then you dumped on me, and then I bought another one, so it's fine. I'll be happy to sell you a puppet at 1.5 per puppet, Chimp. If you want to take it off my hands right now, I'd be happy to let it go.
Just wait till the Bitcoin whales find the puppets. I have no idea how long that's going to take, but they'll do it eventually.
My only thought on that, Tommy, is I feel like ETH guys are a lot more interested in like trading their ETH for NFTs or altcoins, and I feel like the Bitcoin guys really are just like, I mean, they don't want to touch their Bitcoin. They want to just buy it and sit on it and hold it, which is really bullish for Bitcoin. I just don't know if it's the right demographic.
Because you can't do anything else with it.
I don't think they want to, man. I don't think they want to. I mean, some of them want to spend it, but I I don't get that same energy from like the OG Bitcoin community. Though, like they don't want ordinals. I don't think they care at all.
No, that's true.
I think it's going to take some time. It's going to take some time, but
I don't think that means we can't pump. I think there's just other people that will buy them. I just don't think it's going to be like the OG Bitcoin whale from 2014, you know?
Oh, no.
Definitely not. But I mean, if you're sitting on like, and I'm sorry for cutting you off, Jack, if you're sitting on like 9 figures of Bitcoin, why not just throw like a few $100K into the autistic ketamine puppets?
Well, not many people talk about this, but lots of OG BTC members are really selling right now to Wall Street.
Well, I think a lot of them, like the reason they got into Bitcoin was to be outside of that system, be outside of those rails. So Bitcoin has fundamentally changed from even what it was last cycle. I remember the emphasis on like decentralization last cycle. I don't hear anybody yapping about that anymore. And maybe I'm not, maybe I'm not following those same people, but it seems like nobody cares about decentralization like they did even last cycle. But I think it was inevitable, right? I actually think it was inevitable, like Bitcoin merging with legacy finance. I don't think there was any other avenue, truthfully. I think it was always going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, the good thing is that you can still use it that way if you really want to.
You can. Yeah, you can. You just have to be okay with big banks owning a large percentage of the supply, which, by the way, investing alongside the interests of the big institutions has really never gone too bad for anybody. So, do you want to be wealthy or do you want to be outside of conventional rails? I don't know. You can kind of have both in a way. It's the best hybrid available.
Frozen.
You were frozen for a second. You're back.
I was about to say, why not both? Ideally, we find a happy medium. It's not just completely dominated by central entities or completely decentralized. Usually, it's like we were saying yesterday, Jack. It's usually the answer is somewhere in between.
Indeed.
And I'm sure that will always make purists on either side of the aisle upset, but it's probably the best solution for everybody.
I mean, I suppose lots of people in the early days saw that like people would buy BTC and then use it to exchange, and I think it would have kind of happened too. But the problem was with the high fees, right? Which is a technical issue still. And since then, it kind of got a little bit too complicated and all of that. And nowadays, it's not like that. It's more about the price.
Yeah.
I was gonna say something else to it, but I forget what it was.
It's definitely a different crowd this cycle. But I do believe inevitably everybody has a reason to become more of a Bitcoin maxi. Realistically, the longer you're here, most of us do tend to skew increasingly towards, being a Bitcoin maxi. Just all the scams we've seen, the way most shitcoins end up resolving. Bitcoin is ultimately like an index, up and to the right. But of course, there are a lot of pitfalls in between. There are reasons, or there are times where you will outperform Bitcoin. And usually that's followed by periods of huge underperformance against Bitcoin. So I do think the longer we're here, at least for me, the more I become a Bitcoin maxi at heart. But I definitely wouldn't say that the class of 2024, I would say class of 2023 maybe, but really more so class of 2024 are definitely not, the traditional Bitcoin maxi cypherpunk types.
I remember what I was going to say. The reason why, apart from like the high fees causing the transactions, right, for BTC, and I know that we have like Lightning Network and so forth, but apart from that, the problem for the majority is that the majority doesn't care nor understands the need for decentralization. And until you and like the OG people understood that, they understand why for society it would be better if these systems are not centrally controlled but decentrally controlled, because the free market is what has made the world's wealth up until now. But the majority of the people doesn't get this, right? As of now, like people are learning gradually, but there's lots of people who just think centrally controlled things are more efficient, which is, not the case, but they think so. And that's why there is a limit to what, like, where like the same type of people could have got the price so high because they saw that ideal. And the good thing is that they can still behave by that ideal, and there are people that are still doing so to this day, but the majority won't. And so the narrative has changed from that to, hey, let's make like BTC this digital commodity, which it is, by the way, and let's make it a strategic reserve right in the US and so forth, and pump the price pretty much. But the good news is that the tool is still out there and it's not going to go away. So gradually, that narrative is there for the grabbing.
Yeah, it is. Do you guys think that a strategic Bitcoin reserve is a good thing or a bad thing in general? I mean, I know it'd be a super bullish catalyst in theory because like it's a lot of buying pressure, but what are your thoughts on all the talk about it recently?
Well,
Jack, it's the first.
it's a bullish for the price, right? Like the strategic reserve, but it's not the initial thought which BTC was meant to do, which was for everyone to be their own bank and transact. But I think that could change in the future if we, to a big degree, saved or fix the scaling solution. Like either it can, but the problem is pretty much the same as with like the form of credits. Like you had gold, but it was very inconvenient to take it with you, in your pockets, pay with it, and so forth. So that's why people came with notes, and because you could have your gold somewhere, and you didn't need to take it with you physically, whether it was gold or silver. And I feel kind of like the same issue is here with BTC, where like the equivalent of BTC being unusable for everyday transaction on chain is like the equivalent of leaving BTC at the store. Sorry, not at the store, at home, or like in your treasury, or in the vault, generally speaking, and then so forth. So yeah, but I think these things will probably get solved to some smaller or bigger degree in time, and it's good to have this tool out there. But I think generally speaking, like the thesis of BTC from the early days is not present as of today, which doesn't that's kind of what I'm trying to say, is that at some point in the future it may come back and the tool is already out there.
Yeah, I kind of view it's an interesting discussion, right? I think there are a few things that kind of need to be said about it, right? The first of which, if we're starting a strategic Bitcoin reserve, you're so used to Bitcoin being negatively correlated to the dollar, but doing so almost intrinsically tethers Bitcoin to the US dollar. So what does that mean going forward? I don't know. I would also say, the US government buying Bitcoin for that purpose, like we've always speculated what is going to be Bitcoin's appeal when it's being adopted, right? Is it going to be a currency? Is it going to be a storage of value? Well, I mean, that's basically your validation right there. The US government is buying it for a specific purpose. You can realize the full utility of Bitcoin. You have mainstream acceptance of this narrative because of who's buying it. And I think that would like you could argue that positive could outweigh the negatives, obviously, of tethering Bitcoin to the US dollar. But personally, I have some personal skepticism that the US government will be buying like Sailor's super debt-driven Bitcoin. So I do think that that's maybe a narrative to watch over the next few years. But I tend to lean it's going to skew positive, the strategic Bitcoin reserve, not just from a price standpoint. It goes without saying it will be positive for the Bitcoin price, but I do tend to think that it will probably be a good thing that the U.S. government is kind of tying themselves to effectively our generation's version of gold.
Yeah, that's true. Like it just makes sense, and the thing is that old people that don't get it will slowly be dying off, while the new ones will be like, yeah, well, like BTC. That makes sense. If they want to go this narrative, they'll be like, hey, I'll take BTC any day over gold or something.
Exactly. I think George Soros called gold the greatest bubble that has ever, that humans have ever seen. Bitcoin, I don't see why Bitcoin can't inevitably be the same. I don't think we're there yet. It's probably something that we'll get to in time, but everybody is, everybody wants to call it a Ponzi. Well, everybody is going to eventually buy into this Ponzi at some point. So it's just you get Bitcoin at the price you deserve. But I will say I am skeptical that the U.S. government is going to buy Michael Saylor's Bitcoin that are very much like driven from purchases of or through debt. So I really think that's an important storyline to follow.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Like as we discussed, Tommy, right? Like we don't know when this MicroStrategy saga comes hitting in, but we are pretty sure it does at some point. That said, people said it about Tether too, and I think there are still ways for Sailor to make it work as of right now. But my worry is that he will not know when to stop, and that will get him into trouble. I think he's relatively safe as of now still.
He's an adrenaline junkie. Can't help himself.
Yeah.
He also needs to buy because the bonds that he's offering to buyers is driven by the yield from Bitcoin rising in price, and he is a big reason why it's risen in price. So I do tend to think that he will continue buying until his average price, whenever that comes to an inflection point, becomes so high that, obviously the debt doesn't have to be recalled for years, but MSTR stock price could take a hit at some point, and that could force him to sell.
Yeah. Anyways, Max, tell us what you're cooking here. Is it what we discussed 1,000 times over?
No, actually 2,000 times. 2,000 times. It's a bit of a hopium fractal on DXY, which of course has been putting some strain on risk assets, right? The day by day you could see, DXY move up and risk moves up, but on a higher time frame, there's a pretty obvious, negative correlation between the two. Like it's not a coincidence that, on this rally here for DXY, you see Bitcoin, go into a bear market, right? And it's not a coincidence that, when DXY tops and, starts moving up like this, you see risk, go pretty crazy. So, I mean, day by day doesn't matter too much, but higher time frame, it's a pretty obvious negative correlation, right? And here's another prime example, right? So DXY moves up like this, so I mean we can go through example after example after example. Here's another great one, right? So we're really, to get that kind of big, to get that real big move that we're looking for, you know, with risk assets, you're going to need to see DXY stop going vertical here. And something that we've seen more or less every cycle has been a pretty prominent, you know, trap that has been set. You know, this was kind of weird because we had COVID, but nonetheless, like we had a big trap before ultimately selling off pretty aggressively here. So, you know, I'm thinking that, you know, maybe in a similar fashion, and you know, we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening here, but it's possible, at least I'm hoping, that when Trump takes office, a lot of this that we've seen almost immediately and in an instant kind of reverses down, and you know, we see this kind of serve as like the dollar milkshake boy bull trap, and you know, ultimately we can start working our way back down, which should provide some positive tailwinds for risk, specifically Bitcoin and altcoins and things of that sort. So I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just Trump taking office. Maybe this is, you know, blow off top in DXY, but I guess I'm not, you know, it's tough to see because also what we know is like, you know, when we're cutting rates, you know, we really shouldn't see like DXY in theory go too much higher. I know it's a little bit more nuanced than that, but I don't know. I think, you know, maybe if we can kind of couple like a Trump presidency with, you know, another, like if we could get one of these here, like, you know, a nice long Fed pause at some point, you know, I think that could be nice as well. But, you know, we got to look at the 10-year too.
Everybody loves talking about yields.
I know.
Today.
Unfortunately, we do have to talk about it right now because it's driving the price action that we're seeing in markets, yields, bonds, the dollar, but also why we continue to highlight the inauguration date.
Yeah.
I mean, this looks awfully distributive. Both the dollar and the 10-year look to be distributive to me at this point. I don't know. I mean, I saw a lot of people kind of piling into the 10-year to 6% camp. I really don't think that we're going to get a 6% 10-year. I think it's possible you could see like, you know, 5 or something like that, but we should start to see DXY roll over here. Like I would even say this month. I think we kind of need to, right? I don't think you're going to get a scenario where the 10-year can go to 6% and DXY can go to 120, and we also get a raging, you know, risk rally. So one has to give here, and we're kind of getting to an extreme on sentiment for both DXY and I guess 10-year yield bulls. But yeah, I mean, I think it really should be topping soon. I don't know what you guys think.
I agree. It's just there's 2 weeks before I think that that contextual top comes in. So obviously we could see pricing continue to skew the way that it's been.
Well, it needs to top here, right? That's kind of what I've been saying in September, that it cannot be going above this level. So yeah, and as Tommy says, it has only now until 10 days because then it should be rollover, and that brings what we all kind of want to see here.
Yeah.
And with that, I suppose we can wrap it up.
All right, Tommy, do us the honor.
I think that's a good time. Let me pull up my screen, guys. If you enjoyed the show today and you're potentially interested in, of course, joining the family, hearing more from the team, of course, we have more than just the 3 of us. We also got some other guys that kick ass as well. we've got a few ways that you can do so, right? The first of which being your go-to tool for this cycle, guys. That is the BB terminal. Whether or not you are an active trader, trading lower time frame derivatives, open interest, obviously you would have loved the last 24 hours. If that is you, we have the go-to tool for you. Of course, whether or not you are a long-term investor, right? Looking to make educated decisions on your investment based on exceptional data syndication and plenty of tools to be able to make more educated decisions. We have the tool for you. And of course, whether or not you are an on-chain degen, you love meme coins, you love being in the trenches, we will soon have the tool for you as well. So make sure to check out the BB terminal linked in the description below. And we were nice enough to package this together with our premium Discord. So if you're interested in hearing from the team, guys, we do 4 to 5 hours of live calls every single day. We give access to our market thoughts in real time. That often includes positioning. And of course, we have a kick-ass community to go through this market cycle with. So check out the Because Bitcoin Discord, guys. Like I said, we did package these two things together for you at a discounted rate. Of course, we also have the BB Academy, guys. So whether or not you are looking to hone your educational base or even reach trading level mastery, we have a product for you as well. Come learn from the entire BB team, how we approach markets, how we trade markets, how we analyze them. I mean, it's invaluable to be able to learn from so many different styles of traders. You won't find another course like it. Maybe none of that floats your boat. Maybe all of it does. Maybe the price action over the last few weeks has been getting to you. Managing downside volatility can be difficult. Of course, so can picking winners in the current market. But, if you're interested in having the team potentially manage money for you, we have a solution for you as well. And that is our SEC registered hedge fund, BB Wealth Management. So make sure to check that out. And a reminder, guys, that we trade digital assets in a way that looks to capture their asymmetric history for upside returns while also balancing the downside risks posed in any financial markets. So make sure to check the description of this video, guys. We have links to all of those fantastic products for you already readily available for you. But if you enjoyed Market Check today, we'll be back for another episode tomorrow morning to wrap up the week. A reminder that our typical start time is around 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, whenever the New York Stock Exchange is open. But today we made an exception because the crypto market is open. And of course, we've had plenty of holidays over the last few weeks. So we wanted to cook for you guys today, nevertheless. But not to forget Market Talk hosted by King Wabi. That is through the Because Bitcoin X account, as well as Wabi's X account. So make sure to tune in for his space as well. It's the afternoon typically. Make sure to keep them on notifications so you can be notified not just when they schedule those spaces, but of course also when they go live. Those typical dates are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. But that is it from us. We hope that you enjoyed the show. Like I said, we'll be back for another episode tomorrow. But until then, guys, thank you again. As always, stay safe.